The week opens with up movements in stocks, bonds, and gold down. As we jump into the charts on the S&P 500, we can see that our Heikin Ashi candlesticks are showing us a decidedly sideways slide. Now, our price percent oscillator is up, derivative oscillator still losing energy after that down week over the prior week. And remember, overall in the market, we have a quarterly chart that when we look at, and remember, we look at that basically once a quarter, but it's always important to keep in mind that we have a down chart on that quarterly chart. We had a quarterly crossover back there at the end of the year in December, and the latest candle that's forming is again a down candle. So remember, we have that big wave that is pushing the smaller wave of the weekly chart in a downward direction. Now, price percent oscillator is trying to head up. We see that price itself up 1.45%. Nice bounce. But again, those Heikin Ashi candlesticks are showing us some of that downward pressure. We look at the 2-day chart. Even with the up movement and the weak crossing over that we had on the 2-day chart, still down. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. Price percent oscillator actually not as laminated as it was. So again, this is just remember we had that latest candle end on Friday, so this is just the first day of the latest 2-day candle, but it's showing a green spinning top, which means lots of indecision, tending up. We see that price movement's well below the 2-day trend line. And again, we will continue to watch things. It's also below that weekly up trend line. So we'll continue to watch, see what we see. We hone into that 4-hour chart, which is going to show us the up movement in the morning and the up movement in the afternoon, trying to get up to where that weekly chart was and still below the 2-day candle. So we'll continue to watch, see if this is just an anomaly for the week or if this market's trying to recover its legs and start moving up again strongly. It's got some things to overcome, and we'll continue to watch and see what we see. If it can push through on the 4-hour, up through the 2-day, rotate it around, and give us some strong up movement, we might have something that we can follow. We can't do that right now with the 2-day chart in a confirmed down move. Let's go on to the Qs. That's the NASDAQ 100. And of course, in the prior week, not as weak as the S&P 500, we had a red spinning top, which meant indecision tending down, starting the week off with a green spinning top, means indecision tending up. The price percent oscillator that was sliding more sideways is now up. That's the price percent oscillator. Derivative oscillator continuing to lose energy. Price, of course, is still below the weekly and the 2-day. That is on the weekly. We go to the 2-day chart, and of course we can see that things did not cross over trying to. We didn't go ahead and draw that movement in, trying to cross over going down, but pulled away from that. Green spinning top trying to push through that weekly trend line, still below the prior 2-day. This is just the first day of the latest 2-day candle. Derivative oscillator still losing momentum. Let's just, again, we're not in a hurry to do anything. We want to see how this shakes out. If it shakes out and this bump up on Monday is not where the market's going to go, then it will quickly fail. If it is, though, it will continue to gain momentum and pull this 2-day even further up, and of course, give some potential opportunities. We take a look at the 4-hour chart, and what we see there is getting closer to a crossing over going up. Now remember, unlike the S&P 500, the 2-day and the weekly are in confirmed up moves. So if you have a nice crossing over on the 4-hour chart, could give you a jumping in point as the week moves along as soon as Tuesday afternoon. So keep your eye on things. Look at everything else, all the charts all the time, if indeed we see more strong up movement on Tuesday. Might give you a jumping in point on the S&P 500, by the way, up 2.08%. So, I'm sorry, on the Qs, not the S&P 500. The Qs is the NASDAQ 100. Pay close attention. If NASDAQ does cross over going up on that 4-hour chart, might have the opportunity for a practice up trade on Tuesday. Watch, wait, see, let the trends guide you. So we're going from stocks to bonds, down for the day 0.30%. We see on our Heikin Ashi candlestick, and you might say, wait a minute, how is the Heikin Ashi up when the 20-year bonds were down? That is because we're using Heikin Ashi candlesticks. Don't know what those are. I think 110,000 people have taken our training. It's for free. It's the most popular training on the internet on Heikin Ashi candlesticks. I very much encourage you to take that training. Please give it a look. I'll also put it at the end of the video today. I'll put it there in the notes so you can find it. And what we see happening is, so far, we have an up candle that's trying to form. Price percent oscillator is about flat. Derivative oscillator is negative and still gaining energy. So again, going down. So again, keep your eye on things there. That price percent oscillator flat. We go from the weekly to the 2-day, first day of the latest 2-day candle. And again, just bumping up where it was on the prior 2-day candle, still negative. So we'll continue to watch and see what we see. Derivative oscillator losing downward momentum. And we go from the 2-day to the 4-hour. And of course, the 4-hour, we can see a red spinning top followed by a hammer in the afternoon. So things trying to roll over there. Price percent oscillator still heading up as far as our big indicator goes. Derivative oscillator also losing energy. And again, we can see where things bounced off the weekly trend line. So just continue to keep your eye on things. We don't have any trade because the weekly's still in a confirmed up move, the 2-day in a confirmed down move. And again, when we have that type of schizophrenia between our charts, we don't have a trend to follow, which means you don't trade on that chart. So bonds are not trading right now. We'll wait and see how things shake out when they do. What do we see going on with gold? Down 0.49%, showing a green up candle. And again, that's a solid green. That is not an open box green, which is the strong up movement. Again, just showing you that things are not as low as they had been that prior week. Getting closer, it looks like, to a crossover going down. We'll see it look this way if you guys recall last week, but with some pullbacks and all, that did not occur. So we'll see if there is a weekly vertical crossover going down on gold at the end of the week. Only call candles when they are fully drawn, and a weekly candle is not fully drawn until the close of business Friday. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum, price percent oscillator heading down. Go from the weekly to the 2-day on gold. What do we see there? Again, gold sort of sliding sideways still. It's a green spinning top, almost a green doji. So it means indecision tending up, but the price percent oscillator is heading down. Derivative oscillators heading down. Gold again was down for the day 0.49%. You can see that in the 4-hour chart, down in the morning, down in the afternoon. But we had a huge bump up in gold, if you guys recall, on Friday. Derivative oscillator still gaining upward momentum from that, as is the derivative oscillator. So again, we'll wait and see how gold sorts out, if there's going to be enough down movement for it to cross over going down at the end of the week. What we're having a hard time breaking is that 121.30 or so mark where it hit before, and gold just couldn't push through that. So we'll have to see how that sorts out. That's where we are as we end the day on Monday, go into Tuesday. We so appreciate you being with us. If you've not purchased our book, man, you need to do so. You want to know the things that we do here and why. They're covered in our book in its 8th printing, Charting Your Way to Wealth. You can see a link in the show notes. You can also become a Patreon supporter. We do appreciate all of our Patreon members. Thanks so much for being with us today, my friends. You have questions, problems, concerns, you can write us, cw@chartingwealth.com. Keep studying these charts. You can do this.